Greetings everyone, my name is Djodi. Welcome to my journal presentation titled The Effect of Behavioral Changes from Generation Y During Pandemic on Indonesian Housing Price Growth. Here are the contents covered in my presentation. First one is the introduction, then literature review, methodology, data analysis, until conclusion and recommendation. Chapter 1 is the introduction. This is the background of the study, started from the Generation Y profile. In Indonesia, Generation Y is defined as people who are born between 1980 until the year 2000. This Generation Y are actively contribute to the national Indonesian GDP by dominating the Indonesian society. Then, as the pandemic entered Indonesia, the consumer behavior changed, trying to overcome this uncertainty due to COVID-19 effect. At the same time, a stagnant and even declining growth of Indonesia's residential property prices happened in Indonesian property industry. These are the supporting statistical data. Based from local data, daily needs and health expenses are the top two priorities during this pandemic. Particularly, 81% of the respondents considered medical expenses as their top priorities. The residential property prices or the house price changes increased only by a bare 0.1 quarter-on-quarter in the most recent period on 2020 to 2021. Also from local data, despite the cheaper price compared to the other buffer cities of Jakarta, it is shown that in Depok, Generation Y house ownership is only 37% of its population. Also shown below, the historical GDP condition at the beginning of the pandemic, then started to recover by reaching 7% growth in third quarter of 2021. Here are the problem statement. As shown on the graph on the right, the RPPI growth began continuously fall as the pandemic entered Indonesia in March 2020. Then the growth continued to decline until the strict lockdown occurred that leads the COVID cases go down. So the RPPI growth coming back up and goes down again when the COVID case peaks in February 2020. Therefore, the researcher aims to find out the effect of the behavior change due to COVID and how it's affect the property price growth. In this case, the researcher used the buyer house preferences theory to fill the gap and give a clearer view by connecting these variables. Here are the research questions. The first one, what are the Gen Y preferences in buying a house during the pandemic? Second is, how do Generation Y behavior during pandemic influence house pricing? Then the third one, what are the recommendations on things to do to grow the intention to buy property for Generation Y? These are the research objective, which basically the answer of the research question. These are the study's scopes and limitation. Starting from the target respondent is the Indonesian Generation Y, then the property industry limited to the residential housing property, and the location is focused on the Depok city. Second chapter is the literature review. Variables used in this study are the COVID-19, the house preferences, which consist of 4 variables: product specification, future consideration, dweller characteristics, and supplemental factors, which directly connected to the house prices. On the right is the framework. The prices are driven from 4 house preferences as the previous study on Pradhan and Rahadi in 2020. But in this study, the different condition generated from the presence of COVID-19 pandemic. So the new variable is on the hypothesis number 5. Here are the hypothesis development from all the 5 hypotheses, like shown from the previous framework. The first four is basically the house preferences variables that have a significant positive influence on the growth of housing price. Then the last one, the fifth one, is the COVID-19 pandemic has significant negative influence on dweller characteristics. The third one is the methodology. The research approach used in this study is the quantitative method, using questionnaire survey with non-probability sampling at the population of Generation Y who is willing to buy a house in Depok. Then for the measurement, using Likert scale from 1 to 6, and further processed and analyzed using smart PLS and descriptive analysis. The next chapter is data analysis. Here are the respondent socio-demographic profile, starting from gender, age, income, and income source. Here are the respondents' behavioral profile by choosing the desired area and desired house price. Here are the descriptive analysis. From the data analysis, the variable which has the highest mean is the future consideration with 4.69 points, and variable which has the lowest mean is the COVID-19 with 4.69 points. Then the results from PLS SEM analysis. The data analysis are proven to reliable and valid through several tests such as indicator reliability, internal consistency, convergent validity, and discriminant validity. Then from the hypothesis testing, all of the 5 hypotheses are accepted, and mediating tests also proven that COVID-19 gives indirect negative effect to dweller characteristic as the mediating variable to price growth. The last chapter is the conclusion. To answer research question number 1, the Generation Y, the Depok Generation Y house preferences, the preferences are still the same, but the variables influencing the prices are altered. The first one, as the most influential, is the supplemental factors. The second one is future consideration. Third one is dweller characteristic. The last one is product specification. For research question number 2, the COVID-19 gives a negative effect to dweller characteristic that further affect the property price growth through the mediating test. Then for the research question number 3, the effort and solution to increase the interest, motivation, and intention to buy a house for Gen Y. In this case, apart from the health effort that the government trying to do to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, it is also can be done. The first one is pushing the government program, which is the 1 Juta Rumah, that gives subsidy to the buyer and gives a special mortgage rate. Then point number 2 is, other than an incentive for COVID assistance, the government can create incentive to ease the taxes, such as PPN, so that the asking price will be lower. Then later could be used by developer to develop strategy to increase the buying interest of the Generation Y. The third one is the government could also make the supporting infrastructure in the area. For example, proven on the Depok area that shows the biggest growth in last periods after the development of Depok to Antasari Highway or the Jor 2. Here are the implications. The first one is the theoretical implication. As mentioned before, there are 4 house preferences that affecting the prices. Then the COVID-19 is proven negatively influenced toward the house prices. Then the practical implication could be used to develop strategy by property developer and the government. The third one is basically the execution from what I explained before, like build smaller houses, lowering taxes, and developing the infrastructure. So this is the recommendation for the further research. By giving the limitation for the indicators, which has maybe the inconsistent indicators, then for the broader demographic covered and more location covered, so that the insight and the conclusions will be more generally could generally used in the in Indonesia nationwide. Thank you for your attention. That's all from my presentation. Have a nice day. Thank you.